I'm Josh, and I'm here to help you with your Chapter 4 coding tutorial.
So the first thing you want to do is go to our wiki, tinyurl.com/WCSPreAL1617. And when you get to Chapter 4, there's a link at the top that takes you to Khan Academy. You want to make sure and log in to Khan Academy using your Google account because you'll want to save as you program. And another piece of advice is to use a computer versus your iPad. It will work just fine on your iPad, but using a computer gives you a little bit more functionality. So use your pass to grab a computer out of the library so you can do this coding. Now, notice that Josh is first of all typing in a background color, and the code for that is very simple. Just type in background and then open parentheses, and up will pop a color palette for you to choose a background color. Here's a little bit more zoomed in view, and notice on line 2 he began to type the word circle, but that's not a word that Khan Academy knows on this programming language, so it's the word ellipse, E-L-L-I-P-S-E, open parentheses, and then it's looking for 4 values, so 200, 300, 100, 100, parentheses, and you need that semicolon at the end, and it looks like there is a white circle towards the bottom of the screen. And not sure what Josh is coding here right now, but we'll continue to watch and see where he's going with that. So it looks like he's going to insert a line of code on line 2, fill, and then it brings up that color palette again, and then that allows you to change the color of the item directly below that. So you'll see now that that circle is now, or ellipse is now, an orangish color, and he's messing around with those values to make it a little bit wider. Looks like he might be trying to code a pumpkin. So far we have background, fill, and ellipse, and we will continue watching to see what Josh adds to his pumpkin. So you'll see here on line 4 that Josh added a new fill. That means that whatever's directly below it will be a different color. And so on line 5, he's typing in rect, which is a rectangle, and he's just starting out by typing 100, 100, 100, 100, and that just gives you a baseline of where that's located on the screen. So notice that put the square kind of in the middle there, and now he's using those arrows to move it over and adjust the thickness and where it is on the X and the Y axis. Those 4 numbers all are directly related to that rectangle somehow. So the first number is the X value, so how far left and right. The second value is the Y, and then the third value tells you how narrow it is, and the fourth value tells you how tall it is. So it looks like he's making a stem. Notice that he's going to put in a 5th value, and that 5th value adds some curves around the edges, so it looks a little bit neater there for his stem. So there he has one pumpkin using 5 lines of code. So now a little shortcut that you can use is you can highlight the lines of code and go to File, Copy, or Edit Copy, and then paste those same lines of code a second time, and this will be for, like, let's say a second pumpkin. Right now it doesn't show a second pumpkin because they're all the same values, so basically those 2 pumpkins are stacked on top of each other. But what you can easily do is move it up to the left or right. Notice right now it's being typed on line 6, 2 little hash forward slashes, and that's just a note for the programmer to let him or her know that that's beginning the second pumpkin. And then right now, if I hit return after the first line of code, again on line 2, I could put 2 slashes and type in pumpkin 1. And that's just a way, like I said, for programmers to keep track of their work. And so Josh is just keeping track of pumpkin 1 and pumpkin 2. You can put as many returns in between as you like. It just kind of keeps it organized. So for pumpkin 2, Josh is going to look at, before he does that, he's going to put in pumpkin 3, it looks like. So hit return a couple times. Line 15 is pumpkin 3, and then you can just do the command V or edit paste. And now there's 3 pumpkins, which you can't tell because they're all stacked on top of each other. So it looks like Josh is going to go back now and change the different values of the X and the Y. So that 200 there, if we change it to 300, moves that over a little bit. 320 moves it off to the right a little bit. And maybe he wants to change the shape of that one too by making it a little bit taller than the middle one, or a little bit rounder. And the stem of that one is still sitting right on top of the other one, so it's not going to show up until he moves it. Looks like he's moving pumpkin 3 over to the left a little bit before he takes care of the stems. And let's just check back with him after a little bit to see where he is with his pumpkins. Looks like Josh is finished, and he probably has some other programming to do, but I want to draw your attention to some of the items below the programming screen. For example, you can create a triangle, and if you click on it, it gives you an example of how to create a triangle. So if you wanted to turn your pumpkins into a jack-o'-lantern and have a face on it, you can experiment with some of those tools that are found below the screen where you're typing your code. So it's up to you and your imagination on how far you go with that. I just wanted to give you one more example of something that I tried to code. I had an idea of a ghost, and so that's actually an ellipse and then a rectangle merged together. And so you'll notice on the left-hand side that on line 3, the 2 forward slashes and then ghost, and then I have my fill color, my rectangle, and my ellipse all together to make the ghost body. And then starting on line 9, 10, and 11, that's where I take care of the 2 eyes. And then line 13, 14, and 15 is the mouth of the ghost. Then going to line 17 is where I start on my pumpkin. My pumpkin was a little bit more difficult because I didn't want it just to be an ellipse. I wanted to add that effect of having the dents on the side of it. So on line 21 and 22, I used an arc feature. I had never used that before. I just scrolled down below the programming and learned a little bit how to do that. And it was a lot of guessing and checking to get it just the way I wanted it. So it probably took me about 45 minutes just to figure out that part of it, but I wanted to make it look a little bit more interesting, so that's what you see on lines 18 through 24. And then the leaf was probably the most difficult part. Again, I wanted to learn something new, so it doesn't look perfect, but again, I spent about a half hour, 45 minutes just on the leaf. And I found out how to do that just below the programming area and just doing a little bit of guessing and checking and trying and retrying until I got something that I could live with. So line 26 through 32 shows you the leaf portion of my pumpkin. Next, on line 34 and 35, I wanted to type a little text. Again, something new I learned. So if you want to add text to your picture, that's how you do it. And then 37, I started with the moon, and that was a simple ellipse with filled in yellow. Overall, I'm pretty proud of my fall scene. I learned quite a few new things, and I spent a great deal of time learning how to do those things and making it something that reminds me of fall. So I look forward to your creations on Khan Academy, and I can't wait to see what you've learned and how creative you get with this project.